Namaskar, welcome to Bharat Blissful Wisdom. In this video, let us try to understand what enlightenment is, especially in the words of Bhagavan Ramana Maharishi. Bhagavan Ramana Maharishi was born in 1879 in Tamil Nadu. He was an enlightened master of 19th century. He lived in his ashram at Tiruvannamalai at the foot of sacred hill Arunachalam. He never stepped out of Tiruvannamalai, but seekers, aspirants, devotees from all over the world came to him in those days where there was no information technology so developed. He guided all aspirants and devotees towards self-realization through a simple technique called self-inquiry, who am I? He says self-realization or enlightenment is the only aim to take birth. Once Bhagavan narrated his enlightenment experience on the request of his devotees in the following way. He was saying, at that time he was in Madurai, I was sitting alone in a room on the first floor of my uncle's house in Madurai. I had no sickness. There was nothing wrong with my health, but a sudden violent fear of death overtook me. I just felt that I was dying. The shock of fear of death drove my mind inwards. I said to myself mentally, now death has come. What does it mean? What is it that actually dying? With the death of this body, am I dead? Is the body I? Body was silent, inert, but I could feel the force and energy in me and even the voice of I within me apart from the body. I understood that the body dies but not the Atma, that is beyond body and mind. It cannot be touched by death. That means I am the deathless Atma. All this was not an illusion. It flashed through me as living truth, which I perceived directly, almost without thought process. From that moment onwards, the I or self-focused attention on itself became a powerful fascination for me. Absorption in the self continued unbroken from that time. Whether the body was engaged in talking, reading, anything else, I was still centered on I. This was the incident he narrated. So, what we can understand is that when there is a sudden, very sudden, intense, deep incident happens that leads to a deep shock, at that time mind becomes powerless. That is the right opportunity to push mind to self, where mind merges with self and one can realize self. To a question, Bhagavan answers so beautifully. Your own self-realization is the greatest service you can render to you first and to the world. And he also answers some more doubts of devotees in this regard. Some of these questions and answers which may be helpful for us also. Question: Bhagavan, how to prevent the mind from being distracted? Bhagavan answered, you look at objects by forgetting yourself. If you keep hold of yourself, you will not see objects in the world. Another question: Bhagavan, can karmas come to an end? Bhagavan answers, karmas carry seeds of their own destruction in themselves. Another question: how to realize self? Answer: the ever present self needs no efforts to be realized. Realization is already there. Illusion alone is to be removed. Master's grace and intense practice help us to remove illusion. Then how long it takes to realize it? Bhagavan answers, everything happens in its own time. The one who is ready for the ultimate knowledge of self-realization will come to them, and somehow the knowledge will be given to them. That aspirant will realize that Atma Vidya, the highest of all, and is also the end of the journey. Then what is japa? The utterance and then remembrance and later meditation are the successive stages and finally ending in involuntary and eternal japa. The japakarta of this kind is self. Of all japas, who am I is the best japa. If dhyana is gained, there is no need of japa. Japa means holding to one thought by excluding all other thoughts. This is the purpose of japa. It leads to dhyana, which ends in self-realization. Thus, japa leads to dhyana, dhyana leads to self-realization. But when we sit for dhyana or meditation, more thoughts attack us, Bhagavan. What to do? Bhagavan answers, dhyana is like a fight. As soon as you begin meditation, other thoughts crowd together. At that time, you need to put all your efforts to hold on one thought, that may be japa or anything, and try to sink into that single thought to which you are trying to hold. That good thought must gradually gain strength by repeated practice. Once it gains strength, other thoughts automatically vanish. How thoughts actually arise? Question. Now, Bhagavan answers, the idea of I is the root of all thoughts. So, I idea is a root from where other thoughts arise. On root source of this stem, I is the heart center. Thus, the heart center is the source of I thought and for everything else. If one is involved in deep and blissful concentration within oneself, within I thought, I which is enquired, then I disappears into the heart center. This can be possible only when one has right intuition. And here in this context, he also says right intuition can be possible only when mind purification happens. Mind purification happens when we are on the path of dharma. Next question, how to attain enlightenment? Again the same question for clarification. Bhagavan says, means to attain self-realization are, mind should be withdrawn from the objectives of the world, objective world must cease, mind's internal operation should stop, mind should rest in pure inquiry, and believe strongly that man's goal is realizing the ultimate truth, that is self, that is enlightenment. That's all in this video.